Sometimes the smallest act, so small that most people would never notice it, can change the entire course of a person's life. And often it happens when you least expect it. This is the story of a young man who thought his future was over, only to realize that one simple act of kindness, one small decision, would save him from losing everything. Ethan was 17, and he felt like the world was already against him. He lived in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everybody seemed to know everybody else's story. His parents had separated a few years ago, and since then, his house never felt like home. His mom worked double shifts at a diner, barely making ends meet, and his dad wasn't really around. Ethan carried that weight everywhere he went. Into his school, into his friendships, into the silence of his own room late at night. And like so many teenagers who feel unseen, he started drifting. His grades slipped. His teachers whispered about how much potential he had. But potential never pays the bills, and it never fills the emptiness inside a broken heart. He stopped trying. He started hanging out with people who didn't really care about him, people who saw his sadness as weakness and his anger as entertainment. One Friday night, his friends convinced him to go along with something reckless. Nothing too serious, they said, just fun, just something to feel alive. They dared him to sneak into the back of a convenience store, grab a few things, and run. "It's nothing," they laughed. "You'll be fine." But when Ethan walked out of that store with a bag of stolen candy and snacks, he wasn't fine. The flashing red and blue lights that pulled up to the sidewalk told him that much. His friends scattered like shadows in the night, but Ethan froze. His legs wouldn't move. His heart slammed against his chest like it was trying to break free. The officer stepped out of the car, calm but firm. "Son," he said, "you want to tell me what you're doing?" In that moment, Ethan's entire future flashed before his eyes. He thought about his mom, exhausted from long hours, who had trusted him to be better. He thought about how one mistake could ruin every chance he had left. He thought about how quickly people would label him troublemaker, criminal, waste of potential. The officer took the bag from his hands. The silence stretched. And then, instead of handcuffing him, the officer said something that Ethan never expected. "I don't want to see you throw your life away for something this small. Go home and think about the kind of man you want to be." Ethan couldn't speak. His throat burned. He just nodded, turned, and walked away. His legs trembled with every step, not from fear of the law, but from the realization of how close he had come to losing everything before his life had even begun. That night, lying in his bed, Ethan couldn't stop hearing those words echo in his mind. Think about the kind of man you want to be. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to ask that question honestly. Who did he want to be? Not the kid who followed the wrong crowd. Not the boy who gave up on his own future. Not the son who disappointed the only person who still believed in him. And slowly, something inside him shifted. The next morning, instead of sleeping in like usual, he got up early and went to the diner where his mom worked. She was surprised to see him, standing there with messy hair and tired eyes, but he asked her if she needed help. She smiled, almost disbelieving, and handed him an apron. That day, Ethan washed dishes, cleared tables, and for the first time, felt the quiet pride of contributing to something real. It wasn't easy. Nothing about rebuilding his life was easy. The same kids who once called him their friend laughed at him for selling out, for working instead of hanging out. His grades didn't jump up overnight. His relationship with his mom still had rough edges, but he remembered the flashing lights. He remembered the officer's voice. And every time he wanted to give up, he asked himself that same question. What kind of man do I want to be? Weeks turned into months. He worked hard, little by little, sometimes failing, sometimes surprising himself. A teacher noticed the change and offered to help him after school. He started spending less time with the wrong people and more time with those who lifted him up. By senior year, Ethan wasn't the perfect student, but he was on track to graduate. And more importantly, he had hope again. Years later, when Ethan looked back, he realized something incredible. The officer's decision to let him go that night wasn't just about mercy. It was about planting a seed, giving him the space to choose differently. It was about reminding him that one mistake didn't have to define his life forever. And Ethan carried that lesson with him into adulthood. He became the kind of man who tried to see the good in others, the kind who offered second chances, the kind who believed that one small act could ripple outward and change everything. You see, we often think that transformation requires something huge. Winning the lottery, meeting the right person, having the perfect opportunity. But sometimes, the thing that saves us is much smaller. A kind word, a moment of grace, a single choice to step away from the edge. For Ethan, it was one small act, a police officer choosing compassion over punishment that saved his entire future. And for you, maybe that act is waiting in the words of a friend, in the patience of a parent, or even in the decision you make today when no one else is watching. Because the truth is, we are all just one small act away from a different story. So ask yourself, right now, the same question that Ethan carried with him. What kind of person do you want to be? And once you know, take that first step, no matter how small. It might just save your future too.